Today, I'm covering the top 10 cards of the Hit King himself, Pete Rose, and I can guarantee you don't know cards 2 or 3 because I didn't before researching. And we're going to start off with the 1967 Topps Punchouts. Now, these were a regional test release only in Maryland. These cards featured a team captain followed by 9 players. There was squares on the right, which kids could punch out. Super scarce release as there's only been 8 graded. A PSA 4 sold at auction for slightly under $2,000, but there is a PSA 8 available out there. And I expect this, if it went to auction currently, would go well over 5 figures. At number 9, we have the 1964 Cons Wieners. This is a tough regional release. I've only seen them in Ohio card shows, but they are in other states as well. A PSA 10 sold for $6,000. Up next in that 8th spot is 1968 James Way Trucking. Now, it's believed these cards were only given to executives. It is a really hard card to find. In fact, there's only 27 graded by PSA. The last PSA 9 sold all the way back in 2011, so it's more than 10 years old from the last sale. That number 7 spot is the 1965 Topps Pete Rose. Now, this is his 3rd release on the base set through the company. The 9 does over $5,000. There are no 10 sales. Occupying spots 6 and 5, we have the 71 O-Pee-Chee and Topps Pete Rose. These do beat out some of his late 1960 releases. And the reason why is the 71s have a huge fan base within the baseball card community. These cards in higher grades are really tough because of the black borders. They chip easily. No Pee-Chee, there are no PSA 10s. Topps does have a PSA 10, but high grades are expensive on both these cards. Now, there's a little bit more of a desire for the Topps over the O-Pee-Chee, but just to let you guys know, the O-Pee-Chee is much tougher to find. Before we go any further, I have to do 3 honorable mentions. The first one is 1968 Topps Disc. These were a test issue, extremely hard to find. However, there's been 0 sales of the Rose, so I couldn't put a numerical number next to it. However, I believe it would go over 5 figures at auction. Another one to bring up is the 1965 O-Pee-Chee. 65 Topps was on this list. O-Pee-Chee just isn't as desirable. However, this is the first year of O-Pee-Chee cards since the 1930s. Pee-Chee made some baseball cards back then. However, Topps gave them a license to print in the 1960s, and 65 was that first release. Another one to bring up is the 1964 Pete Rose Venezuelan. I'm going to talk about the 64 Rose in a second. However, the Venezuelan's much tougher to find. It just doesn't have as much as a fan base as a normal Topps card. Up in the number 4 spot, we have the 1964 Topps Pete Rose. Now, a PSA 9 on this card sold for over $60,000. The reason why a lot of people like this card is this is his first Topps card by himself, and it has the large trophy on it. The 63, he shares it with 3 other players. The 64 has full imagery. And I know a lot of collectors who would rather have the 64 over the 63. At number 3, we have the 1967 Topps Stand Up, another test issue card, which is really hard to find. I was trying to look up any graded sales, and there was none. However, a raw sold in REA auctions for $7,600, and that was all the way back in 2007. So good luck locating one for your own collection. At the number 2 spot, the first Rose rookie on this list is the 1963 French Bauer Milk Caps. These were a regional release, again, in Cincinnati. There's only 16 graded with PSA. A PSA 2 has sold for over $4,000. However, the highest graded is a 9, so I can only imagine what that would do in an auction. Number 1 spot shouldn't be a surprise, but is the 1963 Topps Pete Rose rookie card. Now, these are plentiful. There's over 5,000 graded. I see them all the time at card shows. However, in high grade, they become really tough to find due to centering issues and also chipping on the 63s. A PSA 10 has sold for over $700,000.